I think according your time, I have to say good evening. But here, my place, India, good morning. This shows time, morning time, evening time, afternoon time is relative. No absolute. So, certainly I am Buddhist monk, and also you see, study and practice daily about these, thinking. So things are no absolute. Everything interdependent, so relative. So in any way, we are same human being. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. And then more important thing is, I want happy life. You also want happy life. Now, the place where you live, more materialistic life. I also now here in India, outwardly materialistic life. But you see, in this country, over 3,000 years, the concept of non-violence and compassion, and particularly the Nalanda institution, you see, further develop these inner value through logical approach. So I always say, express I myself, the student of Nalanda Sanskrit tradition. So our basic sort of our attitude is always why, not yes. That is important. Keep in our mind why. Then it helps to carry further investigation. So now today, I think we need existing sort of way of life is enough to get happy life or happy human being, happy humanity or happy world. I think the answer is no. I think your place, materialistic life, always talk about external thing, not talk about our inner peace through training of our mind. So now, this information from Nalanda tradition come from Buddhist sort of tradition. But subject itself, we should consider academic subject, not religious subject, about psychology and about mind and how to train our mind, and philosophy, like quantum physics. The quantum physics to us is something very normal. One of my Indian friend, Rajaramana, late Rajaramana, he once told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. In India, over 2,500 years already developed. It is very true. So, in philosophical field, you see, nothing exists as appears. And there's big gap, appearance and reality. Now quantum physicists also used to say that. So why it is important to know differences, appearance and reality is most of destructive emotion very much based on appearances. Now some quantum physicists begin to feel, oh, that concept, you see, reduce grasping the object, too much sort of some nice thing, too much sort of grasping, negative thing, too much grasping, that causing for, they develop for anger, affection, too much affection, attachment. So therefore, now these ancient Indian knowledge, say how to tackle our emotion. That's now, I feel, world need, today's world, materially highly developed. But each morning when I listen BBC, it's always problem. These problem actually our own creation. And now big question is, what is the basic nature of human being? Now some scientists, they say we are social animal. So basic human nature is more compassionate. It's a sense of caring other. Because we are social animal, individual sort of survival depend on the community. So basic human nature, more compassionate. As soon as we're born, extensive mother's love, loving kindness, that's the basis of our survival. And the child side also, without knowing who is that person, but totally relying on mother. Now that's the basic nature of a human being. Now the problem, existing education system, not much talk of materialistic education, not much talk these values. So now my feeling, my view, and many other, my friend, same view. Now in education, we should include education about inner value, about mind. Like I often see expressing for kindergarten, from kindergarten level, we teach how to take hygiene of physical. So now must combine hygiene of emotion. So then from kindergarten level up to university level, not only taking care about our physical and material thing which is related with our physical, meantime taking care about our emotion. So now education, in education should include education about our mind, about our emotion. Then sort of through education, utilize our intelligence. The real destroyer of our inner peace is our anger. Not external enemy, but our own internal enemy. That's our anger. So once the anger develops, you see, immediately destroy our peace of mind. And then it remain more time, very harmful for our body, for our health. Some scientists, medical scientists, they say the constant anger, constant the hatred actually eating our immune system. Just from, not from religious texts, but from scientists, they say. So therefore, and then also I may say, I myself, as a Buddhist practitioner, you see, try daily basis, try to increase altruism, loving kindness. So that immense help is to reduce anger. So as a result, my face always smiling. So wherever I go, it's some kind of peaceful atmosphere. Not because I'm Dalai Lama. No, I'm a human being. We are same. I also have sort of seed of anger, but through practice, with fuller knowledge about our emotion, then you see you can develop happy person. So now today's world, I think anger, sense of competition, too much self-centered attitude, I think too strong. That creates a lot of problem. Obviously, many problems which we are facing, including killing each other, so-called war, violence, all this human creation, our own creation. So logically, those problems which we created, also we have the ability to reduce. So all things depend on our views and our emotion. We are social animal. And then we have this special brain. This intelligence and warm-heartedness combine. Then our intelligence become constructive. Our intelligence combined with the anger, then destructive. So now, the moral principle, warm-heartedness, now that's key thing in order to create happy individual, then happy family, happy community, then finally happy humanity. Whether believe religion or not, it is individual business. But so long we are human being, so long we are social animal, you see, we need a sense of community and taking care of each other. So now that is the universal sort of, what's it, ethics. So I always say, talking these things according to my own experience. So I try to share my brothers, sisters as a human being as my brothers, sisters. I try to share, and number of people, and number of scientists also now we have sort of same view. We are sharing each other. Then with that is a sense of global responsibility, sense of what's the concern of humanity. That means is a global sense of global responsibility. So now these things, religion is private. So according Indian tradition, secular, without religion, simply, you see, try to know more about our brain, our emotion, and 1,000-year-old Indian tradition, non-violence and compassion. Now these things, now today, world really need, not through prayer, but through analyze these things and through education. So now, and then here, those Tibetan raise hand. Okay. And then Han Han people, Chinese. Okay. Now, I'm very happy having this opportunity share with Tibetan and Chinese. We are over 1,000 years, since 7th century, we developed some special connection because 7th century Tibetan Emperor Songtsen Gampo married with Chinese princess. And then also is Buddhism reached Tibet through China in early period. And most sacred Buddha statue which we kept in Lhasa from China. I visited Xinyan's the ancient the Chinese the capital. There one Buddhist temple. In that temple, in the center, one empty seat there. I was told the Buddha statue which we kept in Lhasa is come from there. Originally in Bodhgaya, there are empty seat there. So from Bodhgaya to Xinyan, the Xinyan eventually to Tibet. And then more important, historically, you Chinese, Buddhist country, 1958, 54, 59, 58, 54, 55, I visited China. There are several sort of provinces. There are many Buddhist temples. So in Chinese mind, Buddha Dharma, Buddha is something not alien, something very close. And then more important, the Buddhist tradition which you follow is Nalanda tradition. The Xuanzang, Marbe, Xuanzang, or the we usually call Tangsen Lama, who introduced Buddha Dharma in China, who come to Nalanda and study Buddhism. In Tibet case, the 8th century, Shanta Rakshita from Nalanda. So we both, not only Buddhist, but also, you see, same tradition, Sanskrit tradition, Nalanda tradition. So now differences, see, you Han brothers, sisters, not much pay attention about Buddhist logic. We Tibetan, since 8th century, the introducer about Nalanda tradition, himself, great logician. So we, as he introduced, we follow very seriously, study logic. But basically we are same, Nalanda tradition. So we can call brothers, sisters. And in any way, relation between Han people and Tibetan over 1,000 years. So then political matter, I do not think much important. Important is as a human brothers, sisters, we live side by side and share our culture, each other, and helping each other. So I always say, expressing Han Sang Da Tuanjie. That's very important. So, since in early 60, you see, we raise Tibetan issue at the UN, 60s. And then eventually, I think one main sort of factor or reason is Pandit Nehru. He very, very experienced sort of politician. So he once told me, raise Tibetan issue at UN, not much help. And then he frankly told me, America will not go with China, go to war with China in order to liberate Tibet. He says, it will not happen. So important is direct contact with Chinese government. He advised me. So since 74, we decided not raising Tibet issue at UN and try to contact with the Chinese government. So we not seeking independence of Tibet or separation Tibet from mainland China since 74. So usually we describe middle way of approach. Not separation, not independence, no, you see, at the present sort of condition, we sometimes you see even the hardliner, you see, try to eliminate Tibetan language also. So that kind of hardliner, short-sighted policy, we will never accept. And then we also, you see, keep in our mind those area, Tibetan area, which Chinese constitution recognized as a Tibetan area, Zhangzhou 地区，这个说的自治区，and 自治州，and 自治克萨，自治县。So constitution itself is recognized as a Tibetan area. So these areas should have same right to preserve our own culture, our own ancient knowledge, and including our language. So we are not seeking independence. Tibet, poor country, for economy reason, is much better remain within the People's Republic of China. And also, you see, we can serve, help number of Chinese Buddhists. Now today, China, nearly 400 million Buddhists. I have sort of a constant sort of contact. These Buddhists often come to India like that. So in spite some restriction from the government side, you see they come India and including Bodhgaya like that. So therefore, for Buddha Dharma, you see we can help our Chinese Buddhist brothers, sisters. I can frankly say, as far as the knowledge is concerned, Buddhist knowledge is concerned, our knowledge about Buddhist tradition and Nalen tradition is much better than our also the Chinese Buddhist brothers, sisters. They not much pay attention for study, meditation. So we Tibetan, because Shandar Rakshita himself, great philosopher, great logician, as I mentioned earlier, so we carry his teaching, his advice, study, logic. So we can serve, we can help a number of Chinese Buddhists. So we, since 74, we are not seeking independence. Now, China, since Deng Xiaoping, you see, he pursue more realistic approach. And he opened relation with outside world. And as a result, I said the number of Chinese students who study in America, Australia, in Japan, so on, like that. So I have one sort of story to share with you. One occasion in America, one young Chinese student, say, after my talk in one university, after that, one Chinese young student straightly come towards me and expressed to me, when he was in China, he got the impression Dalai Lama, very orthodox person, narrow-minded. After he attend my talk, public talk, he noticed Dalai Lama not like that. So he found big differences in China. The government propaganda, according their sort of what's the version about me, and real Dalai Lama, there's big differences. He told me like that. So they actually now things are changing. I have direct contact with some Chinese leaders. Not public, not sort of because of the publicly, but it's as a sort of personal, privately. I have constant contact with Chinese leaders. So now things are changing. And among the top leaders in People's Republic of China, now they begin to feel last few decades policy regarding Tibet is not realistic policy. So now they are thinking, try to follow more realistic, previously unrealistic. Too much sort of use suppression, power. Now they are thinking more realistic approach. So we'll see. And also, quite often I also express as a Buddhist and also previous Dalai Lamas say pilgrimage intereaction. So I also have the desire like that. 1954, 55, when I was in Peking, I expressed I want to pay my respect to intereaction's Manjushri place. Then at that time, the concerned officials say road not good. That's quite true. So now that desire still there. I want to pay one kind of pilgrimage to intereaction. So we'll see. Things are changing. Things are changing. Now I become refugee. Now over 60 years. But India's freedom give me opportunity meeting with different people, including many scientists. So I found very good opportunity to exchange. So now some Chinese scholars who notice some of our publication here, for example, Buddhist science and modern science, after they noticed that, this is some Chinese professor, they mentioned Tibetan Buddhist tradition is true Nalanda tradition, and that Nalanda tradition is very much scientific religion. It is very true. So already there are number of Buddhists in China. So I'm very much because of the desire, serving them, to educate them. Whenever I met Buddhist, Tibetan, Han, Japanese, any Buddhist, I always say, express, we should be 21st century Buddhist. That means, you see, not just a faith. Buddha himself, you see, told us, oh, my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. That's a very scientific way. So we, as a Buddhist, just, you see, I always telling Han brothers, sisters, Amitov is not the proper way. You should study, like Lungsu Pusa's writing, and some other sort of Indian Nalanda master. You say they are writing. We should study. Then we know what is Buddhism. And with that, then faith, Buddha, is very, sound basis. Just our parent Buddhist, and in our home some Buddha statue. So Amitabha. That's old way. Just faith. So we should be 21st century Buddhist. So these young Chinese, please pay more attention for study. And then also, you see, those Tibetan, you see, we have very good sort of tradition, as I mentioned earlier, since 8th century. And first 7th century, the Tibetan Emperor Songtsen Gampo, you see, create our own script. And then 8th century, all important Buddhist texts, mainly in Sanskrit and also in Pali, started translate into Tibetan. Now today, we have Kanjur and Tenjur. Kanjur about 100 volume, Tenjur more than 200 volumes. So these are the sources of Buddhist teaching. So we should pay more attention for study, not just faith. So in these, in these books, you see, we can see three parts, about 300 volumes. We can divide three parts. Number one, science, mainly mental, the science of mind. Very rich, very rich, very detailed. So that's science of mind, about science now. Then second part, philosophy, like quantum physics. So sometimes, you see, I want to share with you, sometimes we discuss with great scientists about quantum physics. Of course, I sort of listen very humbly when they explain. But in my mind, I feel I know better. Because, you see, over 20, 30 years, we study and practice. So, Madhyamika philosophy and the Chitta Mantra philosophy clearly mentioned things does not exist as appears. Very clear. So the quantum physics, then neurobiology, neurobiology, and then also logic. These I feel very useful to today's world. These come from Buddhist text, but we should consider these are academic subject, not Buddhism. So out of the 300 volumes, the content we can make 2 religious side and then academic education side. So now eventually, so these young Tibetan and also the young Han people, you see, since, as I mentioned earlier, you see, same source about Buddhism. So you should, both Tibetan and Han, both you should study these things. So that I want to share. So then we really develop a sense of confidence about moral principle and secular ethics. And then that way we can think humanity. We always pray entire sentient being, mother sentient being. So in reality, in practical level, only 7 billion human beings on this planet. The sentient being in other galaxies is only our prayer. The 7 billion human beings, different language, but you see, there's a way to communicate and same brain. Therefore, you see, we can serve global, with sense of global responsibility. Thank you. Now some questions.
Good morning, Your Holiness. It's an honor for me to be here, and I'm just going to go over some of the questions that we collected from, the students. The first question is compassion as an important part of the secular ethics. When should people cultivate compassion? Can older people also cultivate compassion? Can anyone who has done bad things also cultivate it? That's the first question.
Very good question. Now, as I already mentioned, basic human nature, more compassionate nature. Now, according to science, and then the reality also, we are a social animal, including those top leaders. Without a community, they cannot survive. So, the source of individual happiness or successful life entirely depend on the community. So community is ultimate source of one's own individual happiness or successful life. So we should take care about them. So that's by nature. Now use the Buddhist sort of teaching about emotion in order to tackle our destructive emotions such as anger. Now use our, as I already mentioned, use our intelligence. Then over 40 years, I have serious discussion with scientists, and then number of scientists, now they really appreciate about our tradition, how to tackle our emotion and how to keep peace of mind. So over 40 years, you see, as a result of our discussion, it is mutual learning. We learn some latest scientific finding, and they learn about psychology, how to build peace of mind, like that.
Thank you very much. The second question is, if happiness is a common goal pursued by all human beings, can conversion to a certain religious belief achieve this goal more effectively?
As Indian tradition, a secular concept without belief religion. As I mentioned earlier, you see, out of 300 volumes, the content is two, one religion, one academic. So, according to Indian tradition, without accept any religion, remain non-believer. Meantime, you see, utilize these sort of knowledge how to tackle the destructive emotion which destroy peace of mind and eventually healthy body and happy family. So these are secular way. So it is not necessary in order to practice or say increase these positive human value such as compassion. Not necessary to become religious minded or Buddhist. Not necessary. Remain non-believer and be good human being. Okay. So we are not talking about next life, but just this life, day-to-day life, week by week, month by month, year by year. Through that way, you remain warm-hearted human being and very friendly human being with everybody. Then, at the end of death, you see, you get more people who pray. If you carry your life more angry, so the angry face, then when you passed away, then many people say, "Oh, very good. Now that bad person now gone." So no good. You see, short, maximum 100 year. This 100 year, try to be good human being. Good human being is more warm-hearted human being and a very friendly attitude with any human being, and this life become much more happier. That creates good ground for good next life. Okay. Next life you cannot buy with dollar, with yuan marbe ka jemi with kasa. Oh, renminbi. So only our own sort of way of life. This very human being carry good way of life, more compassionate life. That's the guarantee. Your next life will be happy, good human being. Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. My honor to be here. This is a personal question about you. Are you going to reincarnate? If yes, will you reincarnate inside or out of PRC? Going forward, what are the things that we can do to help with the Tibetan situation as Chinese youth? And what's your greatest wish for the Chinese people? Thanks.
Regarding the institution of Dalai Lama, as early as 1969, I publicly, formally expressed this Dalai Lama institution, whether should continue or not, up to Tibetan people. It's not important. See, some people feel Dalai Lama institution is something very important for Buddhism. No. There is no institution of Buddha, no institution of Lungsu Pusa. But their teaching, you see, carry their sort of the philosophy, their thinking. So these, so long these texts wrote by these masters there, and we study, and that's the way preserve. So not institution. So without Buddha's institution, without institution of Nagarjuna, Longsu Pusa, they are teaching very much alive. So Dalai Lama institution, some sort of some occasion or some time, some period, you see it develop, but then we'll go. The Buddha Dharma, Buddhist teaching, in Tibet case, Tibetan Buddhist teaching, not depend on Dalai Lama institution. So in the past, the first Dalai Lama, second Dalai Lama, third Dalai Lama, wonderful. The sixth Dalai Lama, quite naughty. I think compare compare 6th Dalai Lama, I much better. So there is no guarantee. In case you see 15th or 16th Dalai Lama come, become more naughty, no use. So the proper way for preservation of Buddhism in general, and particularly Nalanda tradition, which we kept, depend on study, scholars, good practitioner. Like, as I mentioned earlier, you see these Nalanda masters, they themselves, they're no longer, no institution of these individual masters, but their teaching still very much alive. So now here, I'm gladly to say to you, in India, about 10,000 monk students who study, and also nuns since the last few decades. I also start. The nuns also, you see, should start like equal way, like a monk. So now monk scholar, nun scholar now already we have. And even you see children, student in our school, they also now study these certain sort of texts about logic, about sort of psychology of these things. So therefore, that's the proper way to preserve, not an institution. So they, whether this institution should continue or not, up to Tibetan people. And at the time of my death, I think they will decide. I have no concern. I prefer the few century old Dalai Lama institution better cease with great Dalai Lama, not disgraced Dalai Lama. So now, as I mentioned earlier, you see, we are not seeking independence. Our main concern is those knowledge which originally come from Nalanda. These knowledge, now something universally sort of relevant. So these, we, now for example, in India, over 10,000 students, monk students, also including some nun. Now eventually, I wish, you see, in China proper, you see, we should develop some learning center and 20, 30 years study, irrespective of whether monk or lay people. That's different matter. But knowledge, as long, so long Buddhist, you see, who want to know more about traditional Nalanda thought and should study. So I hope eventually, you see, create some learning center. In India, in Bodhgaya, you see, we try to create one center, a small sort of Buddhist temple here. So I want to, since few years, I want to create some kind of small learning center where Han people can join. And South India, you see, we need certain permission from concerned sort of officials, like that. So in any way, in China, I think, I think now time come, we create some learning center. We can provide proper teacher. Because of keeping in our mind, you see, these things. So we last few years, we, as a special effort, some Tibetan monk scholar study Chinese language. So, since 7th century, you see, we have some special connection. So, as I mentioned earlier, Han Sang Ta Tuanjie. Now, like that, through that concept, you see, we are very much willing to serve Chinese Buddhist, Chinese intellectuals. I very much wish here in India and also in America, in Europe, is constantly I have some serious discussion with scientists. So this kind of meeting, academic level sort of discussion, I want to have in China, in Peking, or some university. I really feel. Okay. Now my age, 84. What do you think? My face, judging my face, what do you think my age?
48.
What?
48.
Kasa. Ka. And then also you see my teeth, very good. The other day, you see, among the offering, according to some puja, some ritual, it's one very, very nice apple. So I don't care, you see, formality. So I took one and I eat, I bite. One way, you see, that apple, you see, looks very good. So I love apple. So, and then secondly, I want to show the public audience, 84-year-old person, teeth very good. So if we necessary with fight and bite, I teeth still very good. Yes. Next question.
Okay. Good morning, Your Holiness. My name is Chuang Chen. I'm a law student, so I have a question about the relationship between the law and the faith. Since everyone is legally obligated to do their best to avoid harm to others, is this the same thing as Buddhism teaching that we should not hurt others as a law requirement that we avoid to hurt others? Is this the same thing? And what's your opinion about the relationship between faith and law, between religion and law? Thanks.
Yes, action, non-violence, the same. But the reason or the sources of that non-violence, not by law, but voluntarily use human intelligence. If we harm other, the consequences you will suffer. Help other, consequences you get benefit. So any sort of animal, including we human being, we take care first yourself. So some kind of selfish thinking oneself. And since many years, I expressing we are selfish. Because of that, we survived. Now that selfish should be wise selfish, rather sort of foolish selfish. Taking care yourself, but you say harming other, forget others' well-being. It's wrong. You cannot sort of escape from human community. If you have some sort of also ability, create problem on this planet, this galaxy, then go some other galaxies, then okay. Otherwise, you see, whether you like it or not, you have to sort of live among within this world. So then, you see, much better to create more friends, east, west, south, north. So I always consider oneness of human being. 7 billion human beings are same human being. So different color, different nationality, different religion, it is secondary. Basically, we are same human being. With that sort of belief, with that concept, wherever I go, I always feel we are same human brothers, sisters. Okay. And by nature, young children, they don't care what others' religion, or what other person's, other child's religion or country. So long play together, we are same. We must keep that spirit. Okay. Then you will be, it's much more happier. When you say, I met some people, when they introduce themselves, I feel boring. No need any introduce. So long, human face, human eye, human nose, human, the mouth, and smile. That's the best way to introduce. Rank or religion, these are secondary, not important. Next question.
Good morning, Your Holiness. The next question that I will be presenting to you is, what if there is a conflict between secular ethics / universal responsibility and national interest of a country?
Oh, national interest with broad mind and because of the long-sighted, then no sort of conflict. But any human community, any nation, part of humanity. So you have to take care about humanity in order to your own national interest. If you're short-sighted, narrow-minded, then only think your own nation. I think, look, I always say the telling and with belief, European Union, First World War, Second World War, European Union, I'm a member of European Union, and particularly French and Germany. Almost, I think, century-old enemy. But end of second century, end of Second World War. Then de Gaulle of France, French de Gaulle, and German Adenauer. Now they realize, instead of fighting, we should take common interest. So they, mainly I think these two persons, you see, they create European Union. So previously, these member states much sort of killing each other. After European Union developed, then at least now last a few decades, very peaceful. If European Union not yet developed, then I think last few decades, I think some killing must take place. Could be see, more violence. So the Europeans, through a lot of sort of suffering out of war, out of violence, they become more mature. They think common interest. So they develop a European Union. Wonderful. I really admire. So now in Latin America and Africa, I think whole Africa too big, at least Northern Africa, Eastern Africa, Western Africa, something like that, eventually you see create some kind of union. That's the best guarantee to keep peace. So in Asia, sometimes I have one dream. Japan, China, Korea, Vietnam, India, some kind of union. That's, I think, best guarantee. And economically, immense benefit. And education field, you see, as a one union and exchange, no restriction. So, and then we Tibetan very happily join that kind of union. Already, you see, we are not seeking separation from People's Republic of China. So we voluntarily, you see, decide, remain within the People's Republic of China. Now People's Republic of China should think more wider perspective, think more, not just China, 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 not say that. Think, I think China, most populated nation on this planet. And then second, India. So Sino-Indian good relation is very important.
The next question is, Your Holiness, how can all faith come together and accept one another?
Oh, look, India. I spent now over 60 years in this country. Now India is my home. Now here, all major religious traditions live together with mutual respect. I never heard complaint from Shia side and Sunni side. I never heard. But in our next neighbor, Shia and Sunni fighting, killing each other. In this country, over 1,000 years, almost I think 2,000 years, all major religious traditions come here. Besides India's homegrown different tradition, Sangha tradition, Jain tradition, Buddhist tradition, and many other Hindu tradition. These are homegrown. Then from outside, Zoroastrian come, and then Judaism, Muslim, Christian come here. All live together very harmoniously. Harmony, very good harmony. So one of my commitment is try to promote religious harmony, because I have full confidence it is possible. Now this country, India, over 1 billion populated nation, this religious harmony is wonderful. So with genuine harmony, mutual respect, that helpful to mutual learning. Yes, now next question.
So I'd like to present to you the last question, Your Holiness, for the evening. Your Holiness, can you talk about whether atheism or theism better support the development of moral standards?
All major world religions all carry same message of love. All carry. Because I usually see express all those religion is actually human beings' religion, human creation. So therefore, all those religion carry best quality of human being. That is human love. Then, in order to achieve that, you see different philosophy. Some say there is God, creator. Some say no creator, like Buddhism and Jainism and one part of Sankhyaism. No concept of creator, but rather self-creation. So other, I think most of the religion believe creator. But that's method. But so long, goal is same. Kindness, loving kindness. So this different philosophy is different method, but same goal. So as far as different method is concerned, within Buddhism, in the Nalanda tradition, Vivashik school of thought, Sautrantic school of thought, Chitta Mantra school of thought, Madhyamika school of thought. And within these different Buddhist philosophical school of thought, within each there are some divisions. So these are necessary according people who have different mental disposition. So you need different philosophical approach. But no problem. In fact, we can learn each other like that. Among these Nalendra master, you see these 4 schools of thought, and particularly Chitta Mantra school of thought, and the Madhyamika philosophy, philosophical thought. There's a lot of sort of debate, a lot of sort of discussion. Helpful. Like that. So, so religious harmony is very possible. India is the living example. Indian Muslim, because the whole sort of society, different religion there, so you see they, from childhood, they already know there are different traditions. Whereas some isolated different country, then they almost is a concept of one truth, one religion. That's something developed because they isolated. In this country, the concept of several truth, several religion here. So in terms of individual practitioner, concept of one truth, one religion is good. But in terms of society, it is impossible. In the society, the concept of several truth, several religion is very relevant. That's a reality. According to the circumstances, there are many different religious traditions, and then you see emphasis one truth, one religion, then you become isolated. You suffer. I'm Buddhist. I never say Buddhism is best. I never say it. For me, Buddhism is best. But when I talk with a group of people, I never say Buddhism is best. Like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, according to today's reality, each individual, each nation's future depends on the rest of the human community. That's a reality. Now, according to that reality, we really need sense of oneness of entire 7 billion human beings. That's very important. Now you are young people, so future depend on you. Future not depend on me. Now, you see, I think another 15, 20 years I may live. But after that, you see, my time gone. But human being, till I think global warming become very serious, then world itself become desert. Till that, we human beings remain. So these young people are the future of humanity. So your thinking, and also you see, you should pay more attention about global warming. That's quite serious. Okay, very important. And then I want to share global level, huge gap, rich and poor. And within the nation, gap, rich and poor. This, I think you should keep in your mind to reduce this gap and pay more attention about poorer people. Very sad. So the other day, I also expressed publicly. So, like those refugees, and in Africa, in Latin America, some poor people, they are daily their life facing some difficulties. So we should think, you should think about, this gap, rich and poor. This is a very serious matter. It's totally against sense of compassion. We should take everyone, and particularly those needy people, poor people. Thank you.